Hey guys, welcome to the CTC 210 course titled Forensic Laboratory. Many of you are probably looking forward to this class. Forensics is typically a hot word that everybody seems to enjoy and everybody seems to be interested in until they actually have to do some of the forensic work. A lot of the TV shows that you are watching, like NCIS maybe, takes a look at what goes on in a forensics lab, and there's all of these dramatic lights and magic boxes and things that do things for you, and it looks real neat and easy, and that has generated some interest into the field. Part of it is that way, but part of it is not, of course. Part of it is made for TV. But we are going to be focused on those laboratory techniques. Notice up here at the top it says forensics laboratory and not forensic chemistry or forensic science. It's not forensic science per se, because forensic science not only looks at the laboratory techniques, but it also looks at the field techniques as well. So we are never going to be really talking about going out into the crime scene and collecting and obtaining evidence and bringing it back and submitting it to someone. That is a completely different class that we call forensic science as an overall umbrella. What we're focused on here is the forensic laboratories techniques that go on in a space or a regulated laboratory. So these are the techniques and the equipment that is required for those techniques, and how can we as a forensic technician or a forensics chemist go in and do some of this testing. I don't really like to use the word forensic chemistry either, because some of the stuff that we're going to be learning about this semester is actually forensic biology. We're going to be talking about DNA and ladders and PCR, and all of this kind of biology-related chemistry that goes on, or biology concepts that come along with it. So that's why we're calling it forensic laboratory instead. A little bit of chemistry, a little bit of biology, but we're never going to be talking about the crime scene. That is a completely different course, taught by a different program, taught by different instructors. Okay? The version of the syllabus that you're seeing here on the screen is going to change, of course, depending on the semester and the year that you're with us. That also means that my contact information, my phone number, my office hours might change as well. So please download the current copy of the syllabus and take a look at those hours and that contact information. It could change. The meeting times could also change as well, depending on the semester. It might be morning, it might be afternoon, it might be fully online, it might be hybrid, it might be, who knows what it is. So these meeting times, take a look at what goes on, take a look at the required face-to-face time that you should be devoting to this class, because that will change depending on the semester probably. Currently, this course sits at 4 contact hours, which means that out of the week, you should be devoting 4 hours of your time to this class in order to successfully pass it. The course credit hour equates to 2. So you're probably looking at this and saying 2 credits, this is probably going to be pretty easy. And I will say that a lot of this is easy, but a lot of it is very detailed and specific work. So we're getting into details and nitty and gritty here. We're not doing overall concepts that we want you to take away. So details matter, and that's what this course is based on. And because of that, this course might feel a little different than some of the others that you have taken so far in the program. So just keep that in mind, keep that mentality front and center, and you'll be okay with this course. Available classrooms, these could change as well depending on the year and depending on the semester. So here are the current list of classrooms that will be available to you to complete this class. Textbook. Textbook right now, there is no textbook for the course. There's nothing that basically meets the needs that we need from this course, period. So the textbook, what you will typically find out in the field are forensic science textbooks, not forensic laboratory textbooks. So we are going to do a hodgepodge of information, and if you need that information, we will give that information to you in some form or some fashion. But we are not going to be requiring you to take money out of your pocket and purchase a textbook here. The lab manual is the same story. There is no lab manual that perfectly suits the needs of what we need. So because of that, why waste money on a lab manual that you're only going to use a part of and then you're going to get the other part from us directly? So lab manuals, the lab experiments will be available through Blackboard for you to use, and from that point on, I think that you're good to go. So we're saving you money with this class, right? We're putting you front and center. Prerequisite, CTC 145. The reason is because this is the class where you become independent in our course and in our program. So that independence will get you more comfortable with some of the techniques and making solutions and doing things on your own. And we desperately need that for this class. So that is why CTC 145, the summer course, is going to be a prerequisite for this. The course description, if I go through and read the course description, it says topics include the application of lab technique and analytical equipment associated with blood alcohol content, illicit drugs, questioned document analysis, arson investigation, gunshot residues, and DNA. All right? So the reason that we have picked these individual topics is because based on the North Carolina State Crime Lab, they have provided us statistics on the most common lab procedures that they complete on a daily basis. And these are it, folks. This is what they're doing in real life at a real crime lab within our own state. So we're going to develop a course around those topics, and what you're going to experience are online lectures and laboratories that are associated with those topics that you're seeing in the course description. The add drop dates and the withdraw dates, those are going to change depending on semester and year. So just go through, make sure that you're reading those, make sure that you understand what those dates are for. If you think that you're not going to do well in the course and you don't want an F, well, take a look at the withdraw date. That will give you a W instead of an F, which looks a little bit better on a transcript. The grade distribution is probably not going to change that much. If it does, it will just change like ticking up or ticking down in the percentage, but that's about it. The course is going to be broken down into 3 grading sections: the online assignment, the laboratory assignment, and the final exam. The online assignments are going to consist of the lecture online assignments and the pre-lab online assignments. So both of those go into that percentage in that category. You're going to be expected to watch a series of videos, answer some questions that go along with those videos, or answer some pre-lab questions that go along with those videos. You have to watch the videos, you have to take notes, you have to study those notes, because once you open up the online assignment, it's not going to give you a lot of time to answer those questions. The reason for that is because I don't want you to go back to those videos and try to rewatch them to find the answers. You should have already watched them by this point. The next category is the lab assignments. You are spending quite a bit of time in the laboratory, so the percentage should be quite a bit of your grade, and it is. It's over 54%, over 50% at 54%. So the laboratory assignments are basically what you've been experiencing throughout the program so far. It's probably a lab experiment. It gives you some data blanks. You write in your data, write in your findings, and then you submit all of that work like a worksheet to the instructor that's on record. The final exam, 13%, and the final exam will be cumulative. So the final exam will consist of lecture material and lab material both. The lecture material will be presented online, again, probably through a series of videos. You want to review those. And what did you do in the actual lab experiment? What were some of the things that you saw in the lab experiment? What were some of the conclusions that you drew away from after you finished the lab experiments? That is what will be represented on the final exam. And again, that's 13%. The attendance category, this, of course, is going to change depending on if you have to meet face-to-face or not. So if you are required to meet face-to-face for lecture or face-to-face for lab, and of course you will, we're going to record your attendance, okay? The attendance, we typically give you some allowable absences, and in this particular year it's 3. So just take a look at your syllabus, see if you have this category, and see what we're going to give you. And if you miss more than 3, we start to penalize your cumulative average. If we penalize your cumulative average, this thing could hurt you quite a bit, because here on the center of the screen, you're going to see an example. If you missed 5 days, you give 3 allotments. 2, you're going to be penalized for. So that means a total of 4%. Your raw cumulative will be 95.4. After we assign that penalty, it's now a 91.5. You have basically went from a solid A to maybe an A, depending on how we look at that number. The online assignments, more explanation is going to be given there under that category. We've already kind of talked about them. Most of these are timed, and they on average are about 30 minutes, but some of them could be much shorter, much shorter, and some of them could be a little bit longer. So just read the online assignment description before you start it, and it will tell you how many minutes you'll have to complete that assignment. Laboratories, you have to complete the pre-lab before the lab experiment is released to you. If you do not go through and watch the pre-lab assignments, then you are not going to get the lab experiment, and you cannot start the lab unless you have the lab experiment in front of you. So you have to do the pre-lab assignments before you come into lab. That's why we call them pre-lab and not post-lab, or lab assignment whenever you want. Okay? The course final, again, just a summary. You can read that. We've already mentioned it before. Why waste more time? Learning modules and lab experiments. Here's typically the lineup. We have chosen one lab experiment pretty much to go along with each topic that's in the course description. We want to make sure that we represent each one of those because, again, those are the most common types of tests that are done at our state crime lab. Up at the beginning, you'll see that we start off with blood typing, and then we move on to blood alcohol content. Then we move on to a little bit of DNA work. After that, we start bringing in illicit drugs, arson investigation, catching things on fire, gunshot residues, maybe from handguns and bullets, and finally, glass evidence. How do we process that and analyze it and compare it? The rest of the syllabus in this upload or current version are just common Cape Fear policy stuff. That's all that this is. So I'm going to let you take your own time and read that. That is in the student handbook. It's the same for all classes. It's basically what you should and should not do as a student at Cape Fear. So these are things like don't be smoking in the rooms or the labs. Don't be bringing your kids to the campus and letting them run free just wherever they want to go. Everything like that is addressed in these common college policies that everyone should be following across the board. All right. So I'll let you look at that and read that on your own time. Disability services, I do want to mention this. Disability services, if you do have a disability, you need to contact the Disability Services Department at Cape Fear Community College and tell them what your needs are. And it could just be a simple thing as test anxiety. And normally what would happen is that in that case, they would look at me or contact me and they would say, this student has a case of test anxiety. Could you maybe extend the time that they need to take the test or whatever the case is? So that requires a little bit of documentation from a doctor in order for that process to happen. But whatever you need on campus, you need to let them know, and then they will share that with me. Everything is held in high confidential levels. We never release your names or anything, so no one will ever know in the class what's going on. Religious holidays, again, that's a paragraph that you can read on your own as well. And finally, the disclaimer at the very last page. That disclaimer basically means, hey, listen, I can change anything in the syllabus that I want to change at any point in time. So if I go in and decide that we're going to do something a little bit differently because it's not working with this particular cohort of students, then I can go in, change the syllabus, let you know about it, and you've got to be okay with it. All right, guys, so that's the story with the forensic chemistry class, and those are kind of the rules and regulations and what we're going to be talking about in the course over the next series of weeks. If you've got questions about the class, if you've got questions about the structure, you just email me, let me know, and I'll answer some of those questions for you. Otherwise, I'll see you on the very first day of class, and we will become somewhat of a forensic chemist or a forensic technician for this class. I think that you'll enjoy it. I think that you'll relate to some of the testing. And again, like I'm saying, this is real stuff that we're going to be using and that we're going to be working with. So don't be surprised if you actually will be handling illicit drugs in our lab, believe it or not. That's just the nature of the course. So with that said, I'll leave it there, and I'll see you on the first day of class, and I hope that you enjoy this course and this semester.